So in the first example of paradox, we saw a poem by William Wordsworth. It is a beauteous evening, calm and free. Now we shall go ahead with the second example that Brooks uses to explain his point of view. What is his point of view? That the language of poetry is full of paradoxes. So in his reading, he is telling us how to read a poem. So in his reading of Wordsworth's poem, composed upon Westminster Bridge, I suggest you people to collect more information about this poem. Brooks contends that the poem offers paradox not in its details, but in the situation which the speaker creates. Now let's quickly read the poem and then we shall go ahead. Okay. Composed upon Westminster Bridge, September 3, 1802. So Wordsworth had composed this poem on the stated day on upon Westminster Bridge in London. Earth has not anything to show more fair. Dull would be of soul who could pass by. A sight so touching in its majesty. This city now doth like a garment wear the beauty of the morning, silent, bare, seeps, towers, domes, theatres, and temples lie open into the fields and to the sky, all bright and glittering in the smokeless air. Never did sun more beautifully steep in his first splendor, valley, rock, or hill. Never saw I, never felt a calm so deep. The river glided at his own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep, and all the mighty hurt is lying still. So this is one more short poem that is a sonnet. Okay, now let's try to understand what he's trying to explain here. Brooks' reading of Wordsworth's composed upon Westminster Bridge. So here Brooke argues, contents means argues that the poem offers paradox, but not in details. But this paradox is situational. Means in the situation which the speaker creates, itself is paradoxical, contradictory. That's what he's trying to say. Now you understand that Wordsworth was a romanticist poet. Romanticists insisted on nature, they worshipped nature. And here he's talking about London, the city. And London is a man-made marvel. Though London is a man-made marvel, and in many respects in opposition to nature. Might be knowing when we talk about cities generally taken as in opposition to nature. City is the representation of culture. So generally there are two ways of thinking. One way of thinking suggests that nature and culture are one and same, whereas Rousseau, the French philosopher, thinker, thought that every evil is because of the culture itself. Culture is man-made. Okay, nature and culture are two opposite things. And London is a city which is man-made, not natural. Okay, so in many respects, it is in opposition to nature. But the speaker of the poem, composed upon Westminster Bridge, does not view London as a mechanical and artificial landscape. When we talk about Mumbai, when we talk about other big cities of India, we assume that they are mechanical and artificial landscapes. But here, the speaker does not pursue or view London, the big city, as a mechanical and artificial landscape, but as a landscape comprised entirely of nature. Many times we say this is the jungle of cement concrete. Generally, cities are described as cement concrete jungles. So something which is opposite to this popular thinking, the speaker is thinking. It is entirely of nature, that's what he thinks. Why? Because the speaker thinks that London was created by man and man is a part of nature. So London is a part of nature. Man is a part of nature. It is man who created London or any city. Therefore, the city is part of nature. So this is the paradox, a situational paradox used in this poem. And it is this reason that gives the speaker of the poem, the opportunity to remark upon the beauty of London as a natural phenomenon. So he thinks that London is a remarkable thing. It's a natural phenomenon. And Brooks point out that, so as, sorry, Brooks point out can call the houses. This, I'm sorry, very sorry for that. Actually, the phone rang in between. So it's a natural phenomena that can call the houses sleeping rather than dead. The houses are personified and they are considered to be sleeping. They are not dead because they too are vivified with the natural spark of life. So even houses which are what we call inanimate things, they're given the natural spark of life. They're considered to be human beings or any kind of animal. They are personified, we can see. Human qualities are attributed. They are sleeping. So this spark of life is granted to them by the men that built them. So this is how Brooks finds a paradox in this poem by Wordsworth, composed upon Westminster Bridge.